Hey,
So, yeah, we're talking about some of the drama that happened this week, but also we can maybe talk about some of the drama that happened earlier in the season as well. So, like I said before, it's kind of ironic that we have Fear and AKA sitting in this interview because at the start of the season, you guys weren't really friends. So, do you guys want to elaborate on that a little bit?
I feel like we were always friends though. Like me and Ashley was
Quote
always
unquote,
fine.
you
Our
know?
orgs,
It was more
maybe. Well,
okay.
not our
So
orgs, but more. I don't know.
it
It
was more
was.
like management. Like I
Yeah.
was not
Yeah.
really a part of management at the time this happened. I only really stepped up as soon as the EOS girls joined up, and that was like around like end of January, February. Because I remember actually we actually had New Year's at my place, and I actually got a message from Sarah at the time because what happened was the management at the time for AKA, they reached out to the Skira team after LAN, and they reached out to Ray and basically got 3 out of the 4 Skira players to join up with the AKA team. And obviously Sarah was upset about the whole thing, and I completely get it. Um, so yeah, that's sort of where that started. And then yeah, what against fear?
Yeah, I think it wasn't really a fear issue, more a me issue, I suppose. Having a little bit of, not beef, but I was a bit disappointed in Marku for bringing on only 3 out of 4 players because the way that they went about it was not great. Sarah, Miss Catastrophic, didn't know that they were actually moving to a new org until they literally moved. So she was kind of left in the dark, and due to us having a relationship with Marku, because he was an instrumental part of our LAN, it was kind of more a personal thing, like how could you do that to Sarah? She's kind of, your friend, and you didn't even tell her, and you just took her whole roster and left her by herself. But I think that managed to sort itself out over time. Sarah got over it, and I'd obviously said to Marco, I don't think that that was the right way to go about it. He took accountability, and we kind of all just moved on.
So, do you guys want to like start off from LAN maybe, where you guys finished off at LAN and how this season started? So obviously we know AKA like started up kind of a monster team of their own, and
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you guys thought you guys were set for VO7
Yeah.
at the start of the year, right?
Yeah, no, so we thought we were set. We had a monster team. And
Yeah,
at that point, the only thing I could think of was the top 4 teams are going at it. Like
yeah,
I could not wait for a tournament to start. There was even talks about hosting tournaments, and we even wanted to start with a 2v2 to get all fresh because everyone was still on holiday back then.
yeah.
And yeah, like our team basically disbanded after like a month. And so Highborn actually signed Ray and Luffy at the time because I don't want to say we were slow with the contracts, but it's more like you don't want to force somebody to stay in a team when you don't really know if the dynamic's going to work, you know? So, yeah, so they actually moved over, and then basically we're left with 3 players left. One person was like very busy, didn't know if she even wanted to play still. So we were basically set with 2, but we were fortunate enough to have the EOS team join up, and they're actually growing with every single scrim, and I'm actually proud of them.
Want to chip in on Fia's side, Ash?
Yeah, so after LAN, unfortunately, my 2 teammates, my goats, Noogles and Anne, decided to retire, which was very hard for Sabi and I because, that was our team for a very, very long time. But Sabi and I decided that we wanted to carry on competing, and so we picked up 2 newbies, Banshee and Pillow. And this was around December time. We did a lot of scrims, a lot of VODs, and the team just didn't end up working out. Not Prinkle, Pillow was very busy, and Banshee just didn't gel well with the team. And so around January time, obviously Highborn took Luffy and Ray from the monster team that was AKA, and then they didn't really have a team anymore. And Widow and Prinkle were a little bit in limbo. So, because we needed to, we obviously asked them to join up with us. And since about January to literally last week, Thursday, Friday, our roster was Prinkle, Widow, Sabi, and I, and we were quite a phenomenal roster, very competitive. We won Sakura Season 1. Also, our biggest competition, Highborn. When we faced up to them in Sakura Season 1, I think we lost, we took it to a map 5 and we lost by 1 round or something ridiculous. It was insanely close. So we were definitely one of the best teams in SA and very, very competitive. But unfortunately, last week, Highborn took Widow from us within a day, and now we don't have a fourth or a competitive roster, so we are unfortunately out of the running for the rest of the season.
So we'll go into that a little bit later, but can you guys tell me like what did you guys envision for this year? Because JP, you spoke about top four, so you pictured a top four stack of top teams at the end of the year, and I'm sure you have the same vision, Ash. Is that fair to say that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. It was going to be like at the end of the LAN last season, everyone was like, oh, you guys need to build some super teams. And, it was such a hype coming from last season with especially the competitiveness between Fear and Highborn. And, Cage was also in there, really good. Obscura was in there. We had 4 different teams going head to head that were all like phenomenal teams. Not saying the rest of the teams weren't phenomenal, but it was actually very close between those top 4 teams, and you actually didn't know who was going to take it. And I feel that that was it. Everyone was super competitive. Everyone was like, yeah, who's gonna take it this season? And there was a bit of roster mania. There was a monster roster out of AKA. We were looking for 2 players at the time, but I guarantee, give me some time and I'll build up any player. So it was going to be Highborn, Fear, AKA. There was some nasty looking rosters coming up.
How much of personal energy went into setting up y'all's team at the beginning of the year?
I would say for Fear, obviously we spent a lot of time, the most of December, beginning of January, with Banshee and Pillow. We scrimmed every single day, voted every single day, but obviously it didn't end up working out. So I said, okay. Then we got Widow and Prinkle on, and we have spent the last 4 months or so scrimming. We scrim almost every day in the week. We VOD almost every day in the week, except for some weeks when, like for example, Widow has assignments or whatever it is. We have been active in the Sakura leagues. We play a lot of their switcheroos, all of that sort of stuff. So we also have a dedicated coach. So we spent a remarkable amount of hours on our team. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that JP as well?
Yeah, and like for our side, like I mentioned, I was really involved at the beginning, getting the first 3 on board, but I was very involved with getting the fourth involved. So
Mm-hmm.
we didn't know who we wanted to go after, because obviously with a stack team, we wanted a stack fourth. We wanted a great fourth. And we were looking at some people like Goddess, we were looking at Widow, we were looking at um, Flora at the time. And yeah, like getting those 3 and like going after those 3 was a mission. It took a few weeks. So it wasn't just like jump on a call and then it's done. So it was a lot of effort going off the whole roster as a whole, and then even working with the roster. We even had a coach involved as well,
Yeah.
and he was actually a coach that was involved with the WRG management back in 2019. And so yeah, we had a lot of people involved with that team.
And
So that team
obviously,
disbanding was like a heartbreak.
So obviously after this disband, you guys took over the Fear EOS roster and it became your roster. So can you speak about like how much time goes into managing a team like that?
Yeah, so with EOS, so that actually started with me when I was still in Fear management. And they were actually looking for a coach, and coincidentally I was just on a call with Fear management at that time, and I just like offered to help them, and it sort of started getting into a very serious thing in the beginning. So we had like a month or just below 2 months left before LAN. These girls are very new to competitive as a whole. They really wanted to learn. There was like a fire underneath them, and we were involved in scrims and practice every single day. We sat with VODs so often that nobody wanted to see another VOD again in their life. But the work really showed at LAN. Like we all know how dominant Skira was at the LAN, and for these girls to come in a month or two of practice and like go toe to toe with it, almost take a respawn map off of Skira, it was very insane to me. Like that made me as a coach very happy to see their growth and see how happy they got, especially seeing the results of their hard work. And from there, we sort of just had a good bond going. And when I started getting involved with AK management, they sort of just wanted to come over with me. So we kept that bond going till now.
So obviously, uh, Fear has went through cycles of teams, and so has AKA. So when a player leaves mid-season without notice, it forces an entire team to kind of either disband or withdraw from leagues in certain cases. So can you guys speak candidly about what it felt like as a captain and as like a co-owner to watch your dream for a competitive scene get cut short?
Yeah, so there
So
was no.
you can go first, JP.
So obviously we didn't really see what that team can do in a tournament yet. So
Yeah.
that's heartbreak. That's like the first heartbreak. But speaking from like a player's point of view, from competing myself, if you're playing and you're playing against a dominant team and you lose to that dominant team, and now that team disbands, giving forfeit results to the next players they had to go play, and you end up not qualifying, but they do just because of a forfeit. That sort of takes away from your hard work as a player. So it influences other teams, not just the team that gets forfeited.
Yeah, I think if I can speak so candidly on my experience with this, this is just my opinion and my feelings, and I'm going to speak very candidly on it. So for us, it was devastating. It was absolutely devastating. As I said, we were a very competitive roster, and I like to think that we got along as friends. Obviously, each team has their up and downs where after scrim they're like, oh, fuck, that was shit, or a league game or whatever. But for the most part, I like to think that we were close. And so it was very, very heartbreaking for us when Highborn came in and took our top tier player, Widow, for their academy team. They, in essence, took our ability to compete with them away, especially mid season, knowing that I had helped Widow personally. Our coach had sat with her, our team together had worked so hard to really bring it to the table this year. And Highborn came and just took her for an academy team, not even their main team. You know, that's phenomenal to me because for me, it's like, why would you take a first team player to build just another roster? It's like now you won't see Fear at LAN. That rivalry is gone, and it seems petty. That's just my feelings. It seems like it's a bit of a clapback from we brought on SW Ramen, who, by the way, I just want to clarify now while we're here. SW Ramen, he wasn't signed to Highborn. He wasn't playing under Highborn. He wasn't repping Highborn. He himself said he wasn't even sure if he was in Highborn. And in discussions with him, we said, "Are you signed to Highborn? Like, what's going on there?" He said, "No, I'm not. I'm kind of a free agent." And we were like, "Okay, cool." And we took him and we made a post and we said, "Welcome home," because our like whole motto thing is the home of the best. And I think that tweaked Highborn, because there was an esports watch post, and they were saying, "No, we stole ramen from Highborn." And I commented and I said, "But there was no contract. Like, there's no red shield stopping us from taking that player, because that player told us himself that there's nothing there." And after they took Widow from us, firstly, completely cutting us out of competing. I mean, we are mid Sakura League at the moment, which is something, by the way, my org is paid for. We pay to entry fees for Sakura, which, by the way, is not cheap. It's about 600 Rand a season. We pay for exit lag, which is also about 600 and something Rand per month. We had just ordered merch, which unfortunately arrived the day that Widow left. So there were a lot of financial costs to this, as well as we were mid-season, we were mid-competing, we had put in all this work, and she was just gone. She sent us a message at 12 o'clock at night. We were never offered a like even
To
an
counter.
opportunity, yeah, to counter. It was like they had
Yeah.
offered her something so brilliant that she just dropped her team and everything we worked so hard for mid-season. And Highborn went on Twitter and they were like, "Oh, no contract, we took your player, ha 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 ha," not realizing the bigger extent of what they had actually done to my team. And like, fair enough, if you wanted to get back at me, that's fine. But Sabi didn't deserve that. Prinkle didn't deserve that. And the community didn't deserve that, because now the community has Highborn with 8 stacked players, and that's it. Who's going to compete with that?
Two stack subs if you think about it.
Yeah.
The people who retired.
Val
Yeah.
and Doofy,
Yeah.
yeah. So
I
it
just
Yeah.
is,
I wanna add
yeah.
I wanted to add something from Ashley's previous point. So now you're making two stack rosters. You're taking your competition away, in a sense,
Hmm.
by taking fierce players. Now, with a growing scene that needs competition, it needs entertainment to grow. Now you're taking that entertainment away. Now we're
Yeah.
gonna end up with one org dominating the scene. Nobody's gonna want to play anymore because they're getting demotivated, and the scene crashes. And then what? Then we're
You
left
know,
with nothing.
it's just to like pick on that because I have a feeling people in the comments are probably going to be like, yeah, but Nixa dominated the scene for 3 years. And like, can you guys explain why it's different? Why that scene versus this scene is different? And you can't treat the two the same.
So with the male scene, it's very different to the female scene. There's a lot of players involved in that scene. Now, take that with, let's say, the top 4 team at that time. It could even be top 8 team. There was upsets between those teams. Like you get the second best team taking some maps away from Nixa at that point,
Mm-hmm.
and even now, like Führer got on top now, on top of Nixa, but Nixa still won the last LAN, as I can remember. And before that, it was HBZ, so there was no real dominance from one org having two teams just taking first and second place. So it's always you're all still fighting for second place, first place, third place. It's not a guaranteed first and second for one org.
Yeah, and I think if we look at the male scene, there are a lot more talented players than there are in the female scene, because there's a lot more players. I mean, if you look at the other rosters, the rosters of Highborn and Fear and Nixa now, we have at least 20 players that are phenomenal. You know, the female scene doesn't have that. We are still new. Girls are still growing. They're still learning how to play the game. Like a lot of girls came over last season that were still learning, and this season they're amazing, you know? And our scene, because we have such few players, cannot afford to have all of our players just in one org. There's no point because we don't have players growing, working towards something. I mean, if you're going to show up to a tournament and you just have two stacked teams that you have to play against, what's the point? And Highborn are going to get a victory every time. It becomes boring. I mean, if you look at the male scene, even a lot of the teams stopped playing because they thought, oh, well, Nyx is just going to win everything. So it's an example of how it actually damages a scene to put two, like, out of the 30 girls that play comp, maybe even less, you've got all the top tier players in one org. What opportunity do others have to grow, to mix with bigger rosters, to show what they're made of? You know, there's
Yeah.
no opportunity and it becomes boring and people don't want to watch that. Our views go down, we don't get sponsors, it damages the community as a whole.
Moving on to like we're speaking about two, not just one, but two stacked teams. So we aren't just talking about building one strong team. In this case, a single org stacked two separate teams. So even dropping actual rookies from their academy squad to replace them with tier, I would say our form of tier one pros. What does it do to the integrity of the developing scene when an academy tag is used to hoard top talent instead of nurturing new players?
I think that makes you give up hope. I mean, Highborn had an academy team, players who were more rookies learning to play, and they dropped those players for Ray and Luffy. And like, I get it. You want to be competitive, you want to play with good people, but then don't label yourself as an academy team and don't, like, this whole Project Highborn, no offense to Highborn, but this whole Project Highborn, you've got top players in that team. It really you might as well just say Highborn A and B. Like, it's not great and you aren't giving rookies the opportunity to actually learn and play the game. It's just it's like a monopolization of players, and it also it encourages players to just play with the best and not actually learn or get better themselves. You're just stacking players on players in the same org. I mean, if it was another org, if we still had the monster aka roster, we had the fear roster, we had the highborn roster, like, imagine the LAN. It's just going to be highborn at LAN. Because,
Yeah.
like, there won't be any other teams there to support. None of us have rosters. All our good players are there. We didn't make qualifiers. We don't have teammates. Like,
I mean, at this point, you don't even know who's the main team anymore.
yeah.
Like, both
It's
teams are so stacked, you don't even know who's the main team.
yeah.
So, maybe to JP, so when you see a single brand coming along and, cornering all the players that are supposed to be in other teams, like you guys said, how does a scene stay healthy when, like, the bracket is being, like, artificially cornered and kept to one org? Like, how does
Yeah.
that, yeah.
It sort of takes away from, I want to say, I don't know what the right word is for this.
The
So when you
integrity
go
of
into a
competing.
tournament, so not integrity as in a sense, like when you go into a tournament, you
Yeah.
sort of like go into a tournament knowing what you're going up against. So if you go into a tournament knowing, okay, these two teams that you're going up against is unbeatable, it takes away from your drive. It takes away from your will to even play the tournament. And now, let's say you have one of the worst lucks, and you get both teams back to back in a bracket. Like, let's say
Yeah.
even, yeah, I don't know. Like, in a scene that's this small, like, you can't take away motivation.
Yeah.
And I feel like,
Do you think that's what happened to your girls right now, your EOS team? Do you think that they're seeing this happening and they're like, I'm not gonna go against highborn 1, highborn 2, like back to back. I don't want to do that. Who wants to do that?
Yeah, no, definitely. Like in the beginning, even when we had that stacked roster, they wanted to play against that stacked roster because it's sort of like a learning experience for them, and
Hmm.
it's all internal. So there's going to be no banter, no beef, nothing serious. It's just a learning experience. But now they didn't get that. Like now they have to go compete against these two stacked rosters and a team that's still learning. I don't know, like getting into a tournament just getting thrashed, just like it just destroys your will to even play anymore.
So, I mean, like we all have been in the scene before, so I can already hear what the defense is probably going to be. So I preempted this question. Um, the defense is always, it's a free market. Everyone can move where they want to move. And, it's just business. Like I've heard that term so many times. So at what point does the it's just business line, like when does that cross into anti-competitive behavior?
So I'd like to answer this. So there are a couple of factors. Okay. One, as I said, as JP said, there's no opportunity for other girls to learn, for other girls to get a chance to play in these rosters, to compete in these rosters, to grow as people. I think it also creates a lot of beef between orgs, which means that orgs don't want to work together for the betterment of the scene. It creates animosity between players. With Widow, I wouldn't say that I have animosity with her, but I don't respect that she dropped us at 12 at night, mid league. There was no opportunity to talk about it. And she was a close friend of mine. So I'm genuinely very hurt. And I don't see myself teaming with Widow again because the trust is broken. And it actually ruins relationships between girls. I mean, look at Miss Catastrophic when they AKA made this monster roster. Okay, cool, you made a monster roster just for it to dissolve and go to an academy team at Highborn, or it's just business to the org, damages the relationships within the community. It damages our ability to grow as a scene, and I think in general it just creates a lot of unwanted feelings and hurt. And that's not what our scene needs. It's just business to the men. But to us, it was always about growing relationships, about proving that a female scene can work, about, competing in a safe, fun environment. And now we have men stepping in saying it's just business and tearing those relationships and this community apart.
JP?
I mean, it's so funny to say it's just business, right?
Mm.
The way I see it, like, yeah, it's just business, but what is a business without a market? What if you lose that market and it's no longer a business?
Yeah.
So I just feel like it's so unnecessary.
That's basically what I was going to say is it's like an irony that an org that's hoarding the top players is probably starving the scene and eventually starving themselves, right? Like that's ultimately where we can see this going.
Yeah,
And also like I don't just from my perspective, I don't think it's truly a fair market if, for example, like in both y'all's cases, um, you guys shouldered all of that work, all of that effort into building these players up, trying to like find sponsors to like pay these players what they're worth. Like Ash and I, we've been talking a lot recently, and they've been like trying very hard to secure sponsors to actually pay the players what they are worth. So there's still a financial justice. So is it really just business when it's one side that has put in all the work and all the effort and the other side just reaping the benefits?
yeah, and I mean, we're all like working people,
Mm.
so we go to our day jobs, we come back, we do this for a hobby, and now I put all this effort in for nothing. Like that in itself is so demotivating that you just want to walk away. Like
Mhm.
working towards something and not reaping any benefits, you don't see the point of continuing with it.
Ash?
Yeah, I think for me, competing is my passion, and to have someone destroy my team because it's just business to them, you've taken my dream, like as a player, you know, that's Sabi doesn't want to compete anymore. I don't want to compete anymore. Yeah, don't know what to tell you.
So, to Ash, what has this experience taught you about the kind of league rules, roster caps, and structural player protections that need to exist moving forward to keep like the tournament environment sustainable?
So I think for me, COD needs to change, especially the small scene. I'm looking to go with level her into other games, and I think I'm going to have a rule basically where orgs are only allowed to have one team. This stops the monopolization of players. This stops too much roster mania or things like teams just buying all the players so that they have a guaranteed win. So each org will only be allowed one team of players per tournament. Well, I think in general. And I also think that we won't be allowing like mid league changes, things like that. And I do think that orgs should start not punishing players, but I was speaking to a friend, and he said if a player left mid league back in his day, he played COD back in 2009. He said if a player left mid league, that player wouldn't be allowed to play for a certain amount of time, because in essence you've robbed an org of their time, their money, their effort, their resources, and they can't get that back. So I think that in order to protect the players and also in a way to protect the orgs and the competitive environment, make it more sustainable, more competitive, I think that I'm only going to allow one org to have one team, and that players will not be allowed to change mid seasons, like mid leagues and stuff. It's just not appropriate.
JP, would you like to add on?
I actually agree with Ashley on that one. That's actually very good. That's gonna create like a new roster mania as soon as you announce there's only one team allowed. I kind of like that.
I spoke to someone also back in the 2009 era, and he kind of told me he was like he doesn't understand how those rules that Ash brought up, how that just fell away, because they were very, very strict back then. Like you couldn't, if I left an org mid season, I couldn't play for 6 months. Like my contract stipulated like a garden leave. I think it's called garden leave, if I'm not mistaken, where you're not allowed to play for 6 months because you ultimately walking away from that team with their strats and knowing how they play, and you moving on to the next team and you disadvantaging that team. So I kind of wonder what happened. Like, why did that like fall away? Essentially, but one thing I wanted to bring to y'all's attention was earlier I saw Wolfie posted a video, Wolfie ZA, and her video spoke about, is this considered poaching, or is this considered what was her exact words? Is this considered poaching, or is the org just offering their player, the best offer that they deserve? So do you guys have anything to say to that? Do you think that it's a little bit more nuanced than that, the conversation?
I mean, I always preach for player to go wherever they want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, go where you want to be, go to the better team. Like, if you want to join a friendship league and you want to play with your friends, go play with your friends. If you want to join a team that's the best, go for it, work for it. Like, I have nothing towards a player going where they want to be. But if orgs start stepping on other orgs' toes, grabbing players left and right, offering them something to cause them to backstep their current team or their current friends, then the lines start getting crossed.
So my thought process on it is that us as orgs have a responsibility to okay, so it's a difficult concept, but we have a responsibility as org owners to ensure growth of our community and to sustain our community. And by, yes, players should always go where they have better opportunities, but we shouldn't be offering players things to try and dissolve competitiveness, to try and remove the competitiveness of other teams in the scene, because then it's just no fun. It's it's nothing to watch, nothing to see, and I think that a player, yes, should be allowed to go for a better opportunity every single time. But us org owners have a responsibility to ensure that when we are offering players contracts, when we are offering players to play in our teams, etc., that we are not disadvantaging our competitors, our other teams, our other, the competitiveness in general of the scene. It it makes no sense for one org to harbor every single good player and just completely dissolve the competition. I mean, AKA was a roster that could have rumbled. Fear was a roster that could have rumbled, and both those rosters are gone.
And now, if you even think about it, that's two extra teams gone for no reason. It's not like they needed a player. It's not like they needed another team. So they just made the small scene even smaller by their actions.
Do you think that do you see the okay, I don't want to be rude, but do you see the essentially like the weaker teams right now, the teams that are still learning, do you see them actually wanting to compete now, realistically?
I
So
mean,
funny
I'm
enough,
speaking to a few.
yeah, I
Sorry.
I'll go first. Funnily enough, I spoke to two players on lower teams today.
Mm-hmm.
I won't say who they are, but the one player actually asked me if I could host switcheroos, which are like duo signups or solo signups, because they don't actually want to play the stacked rosters. And they think it's unfair that they have to now play these two monster rosters. And they want to be able to compete in a fun environment and an environment where they have a chance to win something, where they have the chance to grow, to learn. And it's funny, the I didn't even think of switcheroos, but girls in lower teams did because of this.
Yeah.
JP?
Yeah, like, I just want to add on with Ashley's thing. Like, they do want to play, but they're sort of like demotivated to play.
Mm-hmm.
So you take away their joy of playing. And that's the whole reason why all of us are even here.
Last question. I'm pretty sure there's going to be comments saying that you guys are just doing this because you guys are salty. Like, we have the money. I can already like I've only been around for a year, but I can already tell that that's probably what it's going to be. Um, so anything you guys want to say to that?
Do you want to go first, JP, or shall I?
I mean, sure. To me, you can spend your money however you want to. You can look at it however you want. I'm just here to stand up for the lower teams. The teams that's not as stacked as that current HP rosters. So that's why I'm here. I'm more focused on the male scene anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and also I'm helping the US team wherever I can. Like, they're a great team. I'll support them and everything. But the whole reason I'm here is not to bash someone. It's more just to bring back what everyone's here to even compete for, and that's to have fun.
Ash?
So, yes, I'm salty. I'm salty. You can say I'm salty all you want. You took out your competition. It's plain as day. But also, for me, not only did you take out my team, you are taking out the scene that I work to build. To see the disappointment, the heartbreak, the demotivation from the females in the scene when I personally put my time, my money, my effort into building a scene for the women to compete and for my own dream. We all know that I wanted to compete. That's why I created the scene, and you've taken that away. So yes, I'm salty. And I'm not gonna say that I'm not. But at the end of the day, I am gonna speak up so that this stops happening, because we need to, as players and as org owners, be more responsible and think long term. Stop thinking, oh, we just want to win LAN, or oh, we just want the best teams, oh, we just this, we just that, because we're actually going to a point where beef is destroying our community that we're trying to build. And that's not fair to the players that aren't involved, to the orgs that aren't involved, and they're not fair to the people who work so hard to create the scene. So I'm salty, but I'm here speaking facts, and you can't deny those facts.
I know you said that was the last question, but I thought we should end it off on this note. Would you like to tell everybody what was in the plans for from now till like not just land this year, but land what would have been land next year as well, so that everybody knows what they missed out on? Because I want to be honest with you guys. Like, normally I just let people talk and I don't really give my opinion. I let people give their opinions because GNT is a neutral setting. But I've been working in the backgrounds as well. So I know like what we were planning and what we were going to do. So do you want to out it, Ash?
So so we had actually secured our land venue for this year. We were looking at going through an agreement with Kuro Serengeti. They've built a beautiful auditorium for schools to compete with lands. We had already secured a 20,000 Rand prize pool, and we were in talks with another sponsor about adding a 20,000 Rand to that prize pool. So we were really set in motion with the land. But now, obviously, where the scene's at, I just don't see us accomplishing that. And we, well, we have a good contact who has good marketing skills, and Comic Con actually offered for us to work with them to have a female land at Comic Con next year. So obviously this is all what it is now. I don't know where it goes, but for this year, when I say I'm retiring from everything. I don't see myself hosting lands, putting in tournaments, etc., for a dying scene, a scene where I can't even compete fairly, because I don't think anyone is able to compete fairly in a scene like this. And so this year, unfortunately, I will not be hosting LAN. Level Her will not be hosting LAN. As I said, we're going into Valorant. But yeah, that is just the unfortunate thing. Maybe next year will be better. Orgs will take what I've said seriously, because I do see myself coming back maybe next year. But yeah, it's where it is now. It's not sustainable. It's not fun. It's not enjoyable. It's not competitive. So there's no point in the land for me this year. So unfortunately, I will be stopping all of those negotiations and those plannings.
I guess that ends the interview, guys, on a very bittersweet note. And yeah, if anybody thinks she's like saying that for the sake of saying that, she's being 100% serious. We were in talks with Comic Con. So yeah, apart from that, thanks everybody for joining and watching. And who knows, maybe we might have Alexi on this call next, giving his clap back. So yeah, bye everyone.